You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No-nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart in mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra tone is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. Are You Ready is an NP Media Group production and is the official broadcast of the Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio. The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast are those of the host and not that of the station, advertisers, or its affiliates. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You never know when an emergency is going to happen. Disaster can strike at any time. Whether stuck on the road, riding out a power outage, escaping a natural disaster, or surviving a doomsday apocalypse, what would you do? No matter the scale, whether 1 hour or 1 year, will you survive? You're about to hear what it takes to be prepared. Now ask yourself, are you ready? Have you ever heard the term prepper? What comes to mind? Some of you may think it's a crazy guy with a bomb shelter and an old army truck parked on the front lawn. Well, prepper simply is a person who is ready for almost any emergency, small or large. It's no different than on a rainy day taking an umbrella with you when you leave your home or putting a coat on when it's cold outside. So maybe you think you're prepared for a brief time in that environment. But what if a few minutes turn into a day or even a year? I'm your host, Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper, and I'm going to use my over 25 years of prepping and survival experience and knowledge in this program to help you and your family prepare to handle almost anything, from a small event, from a doomsday apocalypse. So get ready, because I'm prepared to enlighten you to seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? And I want to hear anything you have to say about the subject, whatever you may have to offer. You see, it's important that we share our knowledge with each other, learn from each other, and help each other out. You see, the more prepared those around us are, the better your chances of survival will be when a disaster happens. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard the term zombies. Well, those are just those that are not prepared and come after whatever you have. Well, the call-in number is 513-815-6336 if you want to be a part of the show. Again, that's 513-815-6336. Also, check out our live chat room on Spreaker. That's Spreaker, Spreaker.com. Just go to the Are You Ready show, search it right there in the search bar. You can get there live through the website, nickpiercemedia.com. I post exclusive content on the home of Are You Ready on Facebook and on Instagram. Just go to Are You Ready Radio. You can interact with other members of the prepping community before, during, and after our broadcast. So share your knowledge. And again, if you want to call, the call-in number is 513-815-6336. So let's face it, bad weather happens all over the world and all year round. Most of you have a good plan and know what to do. But many of you may be living on your own for the first time or move to an area with weather you may not be familiar with. If you moved from an area that's always had bad winters and snowstorms, and now you just moved to a nice sunny area, we'll say Florida, you have other severe weather to worry about, and you're going to need to be ready for it. I moved from New Jersey to Ohio in, I believe it was 2004. In New Jersey, it was I was pretty used to heavy and deep snow. Of course, nothing like, we'll say, Minnesota or Alaska, but it was worse than it is in Ohio. In New Jersey, there was heavy rain, thunderstorms, and the occasional hurricane. When I moved to Ohio, the biggest concern that I haven't had to deal with was tornadoes. Well, still is tornadoes. I'm still in Ohio. The one thing I really knew about them is like whatever you see on TV, like in Wizard of Oz and the movie Twister. Both I figure were Hollywood exaggerations and never considered them as dangerous as they really are. Well, I moved to Ohio in October, the 31st to be exact, and never gave it much thought until one day as the weather was warming up. I was talking to one of my neighbors, and he told me it's almost tornado season and asked if I'm ready. I wasn't sure how to be ready for something I didn't have any knowledge of. Besides, don't ride a bicycle or you'll end up in Kansas, You'll end up in Oz. And if you had a cow, just tie it down so it doesn't fly around and mooing in front of the people on the road. That was it. I mean, we had a good laugh. Then I listened. Then I learned. Then I started prepping for if a tornado became a real threat. See, it was a lot different than being ready for a hurricane. Both have high winds, but one would destroy or pick up anything in its path and throw it wherever it wanted. It was a bit different than a hurricane. See, for a hurricane, you knew it was coming, at least a few days ahead of time. So you tie down or bring in outdoor furniture and anything that could blow away. You go to the lowest level of your home and play a few board games and ride it out. Now, depending on how strong the winds are, predicted to be, if they called to evacuate or board up windows, you may board up windows. If you were told to evacuate, you got a head start and you're ready to drive inland for a few days in advance and check into a hotel or visit some friends. Tornadoes are much different. And many of you listening may be in a new area now with weather conditions that you're not familiar with. So in this episode, I'm going to discuss ideas and tips to prepare your home, vehicles, and also what to do if you're out camping or traveling far from your home when severe weather strikes. I also have this week's prepping kitchen tips, prepping mistake of the week, prepping for your pets, and the weekly financial prepping tip. All of that and more. So, let's start with how to prepare your home in the event. Maybe you're going to shelter in place, and it's not necessary to evacuate. If it's a tornado, where are you going to run to? They could touch down and go anywhere. There's no straight path. They're very random. Maybe a hurricane. An earthquake, you may not have time to evacuate. So, if we're starting with your shelter in place at home, first determine what kind of an event may take place that you need to prepare for. You may not need to worry about freezing pipes if you live in the tropics. See, in my area, this time of year is tornado season. So my plan is making sure that my place below ground is in good shape and ready when needed. Now, of course, I do general maintenance and, make sure everything's okay throughout the year. But I make sure the food and water storage is okay. I give it a good cleaning, check batteries, make sure extra clothing still fits. Rotate things like ammo, water, food, maybe switch a few books out. I also like to test the backup power system. I make sure everything is in good shape, good to go. For example, a few months ago, I got a new cell phone, and the charging port is different from the one that I've had for years. So I made sure to have the correct one down there. I also updated some passwords in my book that I keep. I write down all my passwords, usernames, and stuff for different sites and different things. And I knew I had some new passwords that I had to update for that. I wanted to make sure everything matches and it's updated. Let's see, what else? Oh, a few other things I do is check the wicks in the oil lamps. And I make sure that they're full and ready to use if needed. Now, as far as oil lamps, I will touch on this. I mean, it's a great backup heat source. It's a great backup light source. You don't have to worry about batteries. You want to make sure that they're safe to use. And I don't just mean that there's nothing around them that will catch on fire. And, of course, you don't leave them unattended. We know that part. I mean during and after a disaster. And I know that sometimes folks like to send me messages, or we've had the debate and the conversations and discussions, whether it's at the Zombie Outpost or out and about, wherever I am, and different gatherings and stuff, or just conversation with neighbors, friends. During a disaster, if you're going to use them, that's great. But you don't want to use them if there may be a leaking gas line. So if you have natural gas or propane in your home, make sure it's safe to light them so you don't blow up. If you suspect that there's any damage to gas line in or around your home or bunker, do not use anything that has a flame or even creates a spark. I have even gone as far as, in the past, never using glass light bulbs such as incandescent, fluorescent, and halogens when I lived in a house that had propane. If there was a chance that a line could be compromised, I would never want to use anything that, we'll say, glass bulb. If it could, drop the lamp or something, it could break. That spark from the filament could actually be enough to blow the whole house up. Now, since then, I've now replaced almost all my bulbs with LEDs and actually started with the safe room. Although the home I live in now doesn't have natural gas, any service like that, or propane, I still follow this rule just in case there could be a nearby gas line or propane tank that may have been damaged and could be leaking. The reason for that is, like I said, if the glass breaks, there's a chance that filament that's inside could spark exposed to the air, and there it is. That could be just enough. In most cases, though, if there's any damage to a gas line, there may also be damage to the power lines, and you may not have electricity at all. So, maybe that's not even a risk. But it's possible that electrical work and gas, could be compromised. It's a good idea, speaking of, to know where your main gas shutoff is, especially if you live in an area that's susceptible to earthquakes. If you're in an area that is prone to earthquakes, there's also a thing called the auto shutoff mechanism you can install on your gas main that shuts off your gas when it senses a tremor or an earthquake. There's somewhat of a good idea. Of course, there are pros and cons to everything. I mean, the pro obviously is it'll shut off your gas when it detects a tremor. So if there's any damage to the structure of the gas line inside, there's not going to be any more gas flowing to it once whatever's in the line dissipates, if the line is broken. But of course, if it's just a minor, maybe 2 or 4 level earthquake on the Richter scale, it may shut it off. And when you have a lot of people that have these shut-off valves in the city, it could be a week or two before the gas company comes out to even reset it and inspect it. So even if there's no damage, it may not have been necessary for the shut-off to activate. It will. And you could be stuck without it until you're the next stop on the long line of folks the gas company needs to get it turned back on. So it's not as simple as just resetting it or doing it yourself. From what I understand about these things and the research that I've done, the actual gas company has to come out to inspect it before it's reset. Now, I'm sure people can and do. I don't know. You should also know, speaking of your main gas shutoff, you should know where your main water shutoff is, and also where your main electric is. If there's significant damage to your home, you don't want live wires sparking and water spraying all over the place. You'll also want to shut off the power to your hot water heater if there's no water flowing to it. Make sure you don't burn it out. Another reason to know where your main electric shutoff is what if there's an electrical fire? Maybe something happens to the stove or one of your appliances is plugged in. If you shut off the main, that'll kill the electric fire unless there's other material burning. But you're going to get rid of the cause of the fire. And you don't want to sit there fumbling around which breaker's that, which breaker does that. You just want to kill it. Shut the main. Time is of the essence in any emergency. As far as your water shut off, it would be a good idea, especially if one of your pipes rupture, especially during severe cold spells when there's no electric or heat running, to keep your pipes from freezing. I mean, you could keep them on a little trickle, but should a pipe burst or rupture, you're going to want to shut it off, because even when the water starts defrosting in the pipe, you're going to have a mess. And speaking of water, that brings me to the point of water. As I've mentioned in past episodes, you want to have a supply of water to use if your water supply is compromised, or if it's, unsafe to drink, non-existent anymore, whatever the case may be. See, if an event happens now and you don't have water stored yet, you can rely on water stored in your hot water heater, which I mentioned before, about turning the hot water heater off. Again, as it empties, you want to make sure that that's off so you don't burn it out. It is fairly safe to drink. Now, I've done a little research on that. It's an emergency plan. You can also source water from the back of your toilet tank, not the bowl. Actually, this brings me to our prepping kitchen tip of the week. Burp, 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 burpy, burp, burp, burp.
Burpy-Burp, burp, 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 burpy-burp, burp, 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 burpy.
Is hot water from the water heater safe to drink and cook with? That's the question this week. Although in an emergency, it is for the most part okay, especially during short term. Remember, though, not every day is an emergency situation, and there is a problem. That does exist, though. Most experts agree. Most experts agree that hot water heater. Most experts agree that hot water from the water heater should not be drunk or used for cooking. Now, this is according to home-water-heater.com, whatever. Is this true? Well, it is true that hot tap water is sufficiently harmful to us. Now, what makes hot tap water dangerous? Does the problem exist with all types of water heaters? And bottom line, is it safe to drink? Well, according to this site, they've looked for the answers to these questions. Water from the tap must have drinking water quality. This is strictly monitored as the health departments regulate check water quality and all this. This is at least an obligation of the water supplier or distributor in your area. Okay, the plumbing system of your house may pose a certain risk. For example, if it's old or if made of outdated metals in the pipes. So, according to the site, we are still talking about tap water in general. Leaving aside that there are different opinions even about cold water use. Some experts propose filtration, and that's not a bad idea. But they wanted to see why hot water from the tap may present a risk to human health. Well, there's two factors, according to them, that affect the water quality, and stillness and high temperature. Those two things affect the quality of water. If water is left in pipes for more than 4 hours, you have to let it run for about 30 seconds before drinking it. This guarantees that stale water is removed. Stale water may contain impurities from pipes and from all materials with which it has come into contact. The same is with water from the water heater tank itself, where the water stays for hours. Water temperature exacerbates the situation. Water is solvent. Heating increases the migration of metals into the water. For example, the solubility of lead in water is twice as high at 70 degrees Fahrenheit as it is at 59 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's not just lead that's still present in some metal pipes. There are some other toxic metals that could be found in water pipes, fittings, fixtures, and other products such as copper, galvanized iron, stainless steel, and also plastic. Different elements can pass into water overnight. For example, the values of the copper, lead, or nickel from the fittings can be exceeded. Okay. Above all, with plastic pipes, germ developing may increase. I guess it's supposed to be germ development, may increase. In addition to traces of lead in water, maybe the best known threat is Legionnaire's disease, but there are many misunderstandings about that. Legionnaire's disease is a type of pneumonia caused by Legionella, which is tiny rod-shaped bacteria that can also multiply in stagnant water. If inhaled with contaminated water vapor, Legionella can cause disease. So I guess on the other hand, there's no risk of infection if germinated water is drunk or used for washing hands. Okay, well, there you go. Let's see. But anyway, aside from that, we're not going to get too into depth on some of the other bacteria. But if you want to drink warm tap water, after all, there's no dilemma. Drinking warm water, I guess there is a dilemma. Maybe there's not. Okay, there's no dilemma according to this. Drinking warm water is, in principle, the most appropriate to a human body. We need water to stay hydrated, and water temperature plays a role. By drinking too hot or too cold water, we bring our organism more or less in, I guess we bring our bodies into some turbulence. Stomach, intestine, and circulation must muster the energy to adjust the fluid to body temperature. Under certain circumstances, more energy is consumed here than absorbed. Consequently, warm tap water is the ideal drinking form of from a health point of view. Okay, so if you ignore all these warnings and want to drink warm water directly from the tap, minimize the risk, improving the quality of hot water, whatever. First of all, remove any doubt about the quality of the water that comes into your home. Make water tests in the local laboratory to see what's inside. Okay, so I guess just make sure if you're going to fill up a glass of warm water, run to the laboratory with that sample. This way, the chemist or microbiologist can give you expert advice on the scope of analysis, if it is usually for bacteria, lead, copper, or other heavy metals. If the pipes and fixtures require additional maintenance and refurbishing, do it. Tankless water heaters are safer than heaters with storage tanks. Now, we're getting way off into some of this. The bottom line is, like it or not, hot water from the hot water heater is not safe. Although the operation takes longer to complete, obtain hot water for drinking or cooking from the cold water tap and heat it to the desired temperature. Now, yes, we know. And in the hot water heaters, yes, it is water that stands there for a while. It is, hot. We get it. But we're talking about in an emergency situation. Now, drinking a little bit of heavy metals once in a while is not going to kill you. Doing it over and over long-term on a daily basis, multiple times a day, yes, I can understand where that could affect your health. But remember, not every day is an emergency. Well, that music means that we are out of time for this section here in the segment. We have a quick timeout, and I'm coming back to you with more on getting ready for bad weather. Short break coming up. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio. I'll be right back. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart and mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. That's me. Our chat room is open. You can get there by going to Spreaker.com, Spreaker.com. And let's see. So this week we are talking about our getting ready for severe weather, getting your home ready, your cars, and even what to do while you're out and about traveling. And along with getting your home ready, of course, severe weather could bring power outages, so having backup power is very good to have. And, you may not have a whole home generator that you're going to power your whole home with, but at least being able to charge things like your mobile device, having a battery-operated radio, or even better, a crank radio is great. You'll want a way to stay warm if you need to. Like I said, charge devices in order to communicate, call for help, get information on what's happening, and all kinds of stuff. You should have a battery-powered radio already. And I would recommend, if you're in the market for one, look at Cato Emergency Radios. That's Cato. So in my research, Cato has been my number one go-to brand because they're very solid, very durable, very reliable. They charge from cranking them. You can plug them in to charge them. Most of them charge through regular USB port. Some even have a solar charging option. They also have a USB port to charge other devices. You can get them with AM, FM, weather band. Some have other short wave bands as well you can monitor, and some even have built-in flashlights and lanterns. So they're very handy, very practical emergency radio, or even just any, for anything. It doesn't even have to be used for an emergency. I wanted to bring camping. We bring it down to the lake. They're fairly solid. So far, no sand or even some moisture or humidity even has done anything to it yet. I've had mine for a couple years, and it's a great option, for any emergency kit, even just going down to the beach or, out in the lake or whatever. You have some music with you, you can keep an eye on the weather, and you have something that you can charge your devices with as well. We sell them at the Zombie Outpost. You can get them there. We're authorized dealers of those, too, so I'm not just saying that because we're authorized dealers, but we wanted that brand in there because I know they're very reliable, and I've done a lot of research on them and have used them extensively throughout the years. So backup power is key. Generators, of course, you always hear stories about people using generators and making sure that it's well ventilated. You don't run it inside. You can get backup power systems installed that automatically kick on when your power goes out. I'd recommend maybe something like that as well. If you can afford it. If not everybody can. Solar is another great option. A lot of times if you live in an area, you can get solar panels installed free. They're making their money selling the power back to the power company, so you're not making it if you get one of these companies that come in and do it for free. But if your house is situated in a location that qualifies for those free panels, you'll have power whether the power goes out or not. It runs on battery backup. The solar panels are constantly charging. It stores in the battery. Now, of course, you do have power that is used alongside with it for when you don't have enough solar power stored. But during an emergency, if your power goes out, hopefully those cells are fully charged, and you'll have power. And it doesn't cost you anything if you have one of those companies install it. There's so many other backup power options. There's fuelless generators. When I mean like fuel, anything to fuel power, but they don't run off gasoline or they don't have a motor in them. And there's certain things. I'm trying to remember the exact brands now. I can look that up maybe during the next break, or I'll probably post something like that on our social media. Which don't forget about our social media. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. Post some great content there. You can interact with us and or other members of the prepping community and all that. Aside from backup power, a backup cooking method, some type of alternate cooking method would be a good idea. If you're going the long haul, and maybe you have a gas stove, and the gas lines are not working, there's severe damage somewhere, and you don't have gas to cook on. Maybe if you have an electric stove and your power's out, you're going to want an alternate cooking method. So you may encounter long periods of time without utilities and outages following a natural disaster. Your refrigeration electric stove will be useless. However, you have a freezer and a fridge full of food that will go bad if you don't use it. So you should have a plan B. This could be something as simple as a camp stove, a little charcoal grill, even if you have a regular big grill in the back, one of those big propane grills in back of your house. It's an alternate cooking method. You can make a fire pit if you want to. Make sure that you stock fuel for it. And, a fire pit's no good unless you have wood to burn. A charcoal barbecue grill's no good unless you have charcoal to fuel it. So, there are those folks that just run out to buy a bag of charcoal when they're having a cookout. I always keep a couple bags laying around. When I'm having a cookout, I also go get another bag. But I always have a few bags full laying around just in case there's a power outage. And if you run out of propane, yes, I have a fire pit and all that. And I have a couple different alternative cooking methods that I use. And my plan has a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And really it all depends on what I'm doing. If I'm just looking to make a quick meal, I'm going to use the propane grill. If I want to take the time and play around with charcoal or build a fire, I don't mind doing that either. When you have options, you're not just surviving, you're kind of thriving, and you can have a little fun with it, too. Keep it stocked. Keep fuel on hand for it. I have a fire pit, but I don't burn all my wood. And, I always make sure I keep some reserve laying around. There's also an order to use your food in any shelter-in-place situation if your power's out. Now, sometimes power comes on within an hour or two, and that's okay. Keep your refrigerator and freezer doors shut. Now, we're talking long haul, where it may be a day or two before power's restored. And like I said, that food's going to go bad, so there is an order. And, there's no need to freak out and say, this is it, this is the disaster I've been planning for, and run to the bunker and start eating MREs. You want to eat the food in your fridge first. Then you eat the food in the freezer. Then you move to dry food and canned food. Use the fuel that you have, to cook that stuff. Then move to canned food. Then the MREs if you need it. See, the MREs are always the last thing. It's the refrigerated food in the refrigerator itself that you eat first before the freezer. Now, most of that may be ready to eat in the refrigerator. So maybe you don't need to cook yet. Maybe you have some leftovers. You got a couple days worth of, sandwiches, or, you got some cold cuts in there, and, you just make some sandwiches, but use it up. Don't let it sit there and go bad while you're sitting there eating MREs. Then move to the freezer. Now, there's food in your freezer. Most likely it's going to need to be cooked. So it's going to need to defrost. You're going to need to cook it. You can't store it if your power's going to be out for a long period of time. Now, food in the freezer, if you don't open that will last maybe about 3-4 days. But it's going to start thawing out. And once it thaws out, to refreeze it, it's not going to be that great. Certain meats will get chewy, and they're just not good. That and vegetables. Vegetables, when they refreeze after they've been thawed, they're not going to freeze right. They're not going to taste right. They're not going to cook right. So you really got to start eating that up by day 2 or 3. Once it really starts thawing out and defrosting. Now, to do that, you're going to need that backup cooking method. If you don't have power to your refrigerator, you may not have power to your stove. So you're gonna be grilling out. You're going to be cooking on a camp stove. You're going to be cooking on a fire. And I have a set of extra. I have an outside set of cookware, like pots and pans and stuff that I use, like on the camp stove, fire, grill, stuff like that. Then I have a really nice set of cookware inside as well. But I would, maybe if you can still use your regular cookware. If you have like a regular grill, like a propane grill or a gas grill, you can put a pot on that and cook. It's no different than putting it on a gas burner in your home. You're just using it outside. And don't bring your grill inside. So if you have a gas grill, don't bring it inside. It doesn't, the fumes don't dissipate the same way as they do in your regular, gas grill inside. So that's a bad idea. You don't want to store the propane tanks inside anyway. So, and think about it. What if you're just about to start cooking dinner? Okay, now all of a sudden, oh, wait, even before the MREs and all that, I forgot, what about your garden? Don't forget about your prepper garden, your survival garden if you have one. If your food's ready to harvest and you have stuff to eat in there, that's another option. See, you're a long way from MREs still, as long as you have a backup cooking source. Now, if you are hunkered in your bunker or safe room during a major storm, you may not want to set up a camp stove, nor may it be safe to do so either. But, it's okay to open up a few cans to feed yourself and your family if you're hungry. Maybe you were just about to put dinner on the table, and all of a sudden, bang, tornado sirens go off. Everybody's in their safe room. You're like, ugh, I've been starving all day. We're just about to start making dinner. And here you are for a couple hours now in your, bunker, in your basement, your storm cellar, whatever you have, waiting to, ride out the sudden tornado that started. And, the sirens keep going. The weather's saying, hey, it's going to be bad for another hour. Oh, we're another hour. Oh, there's another tornado warning. When is it safe to come out? We don't know yet, but we're starving. We're about to eat each other. Well, it's okay. If there's no one, it's like, go ahead and eat the Spam. Crack open the can of tuna and eat it. No big deal. You don't want to never eat your canned food. I mean, that's what it's there for. If you're sheltered in place and you've been getting, ready, even if you only ready for 2 to 3 days of food in there, that's fine. You're in good shape. But stock up. that 2 to 3 days worth of food, 2 to 3 days of cooking fuel for your backups, cooking source. Stock up 2 to 3 days worth of water. Now remember, with water, we're talking about 1 gallon to 2 gallons per person. I always say 2 gallons. People say only need 1 gallon, but yeah, you're going to need to brush your teeth and shower and all that too, or clean at least. You're not going to take a full shower in 1 gallon of water, but just start with getting ready for a couple days and build up from there. So that's the gist of preparing your home for a shelter-in-place situation when it comes to bad weather. There's other things that you're going to keep in mind, too, such as the event that you're preparing for and things that are more specific to whatever the weather is. For example, like severe snow, maybe snow shovels, digging yourself out. Another thing, anytime it snows around here, I don't wait until the snow is stopped. I don't wait till it's done snowing. I'm pretty much out there clearing a driveway, a path, and all that, and keeping the vehicles clean throughout the snowstorm. Because then, it's ready to go. If I need it, I have it. I don't need to sit there in an emergency if, God forbid, something happens and I need to get to, we'll say, the emergency room with someone, or I need to get someplace quick to, help her, rescue someone else out of an issue or trouble. I'm ready to go. So what I'll do is every maybe hour or two, depending on how much accumulation there is, especially when it's a snowstorm, I'll go out there and I'll start the truck up, start cleaning it off, shovel, do a couple passes in the driveway or, whatever I need to do, a little bit on the sidewalk and stuff by the doors and stuff. And this way it's not accumulating, and it's a lot easier to manage later on. And, eventually, a couple hours later, you go back out, come back inside, stay warm. It's not a major task when you do it little by little and you keep up with it as it's coming down. So having things like snow shovels, salt, make sure your scraper's in your vehicle and all that. I'll get into getting your vehicles ready for an emergency. That's another thing we should talk about, car kits and all that, which we'll get into. Because, what if you are in severe weather while you're out, and all of a sudden snowstorm starts, tornado, hurricane, whatever. A lot of events you will have some warning for, and other events you won't. So do you have a plan and a car kit? Well, we'll get into that right after this quick timeout. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready? Stick around, more to come. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared. If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Welcome back. Are you ready? And I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. And let's see. So, what if severe weather strikes while you're out? Do you have a plan and a car kit? Now, do you remember this past winter, hundreds if not thousands of people, I believe it's probably just hundreds, of people were stuck in their vehicles for days on US I-95, okay? They had no way to get off the highway, and in some locations there were miles for a place to get food, water, or a place to stay. So, remember the last episode I was talking about, the bug out and get home bags. And we never really talked much about the car kit. But others, that were traveling around were hours away from home. Miles and miles away. With no way to get off that highway. And this is one of those choices when you make a decision to get home or not. Do you stay in place, or do you get out of your vehicle and start to make it home? Now, some may still be thinking that, well, this is the U.S., this is the United States of America, this is not a third world country, we would be fine. Or police or government, and everyone we elect will take care of you, and make sure that everything's okay, or so you think. Time after time, it's not been even close to enough. And this is just one of those most recent events that this happened, where the government really doesn't do anything. And the people are really stranded. Now, on April 1st, WSLS 10 News released a report on the event, and everybody from the government and all elected officials, they were very caught off guard by this. Caught everybody by surprise, even the people on the road. A report on Virginia's response to January's I-95 snowstorm backup was released. Okay? The report shows that former Governor Ralph Northam and senior staff had no apparent involvement in Virginia's response. Well, how's this possible? So officials released the report of Virginia's response to the January snowstorm that led to a major backup on I-95, where for over 36 hours, hundreds of travelers were trapped on icy roads, many without food, water, and in frigid temperatures. And this snowstorm lasted from January 3rd to January 4th. Okay? An external review of the incident looked into Virginia's heavily criticized response, and it revealed that the Commonwealth's response showed departments were ill-prepared by the severity and magnitude of the storm. Well, someone's not paying attention. They are. Now, if you were paying attention, this is something that wouldn't have caught you off guard. See, I pay attention to things like this, and you need to as well. We talked about that emergency radio. It has a weather band on there. Maybe the news networks, maybe your local news is not reporting on events, but the National Weather Service will. So it's a good idea to, just because you don't hear it on the news doesn't mean it's not happening. And this seemed to be the case in Virginia. Now, we're going to take the quick top of the hour break, and when we come back, I'm going to go through this story and go through how to prepare your vehicle to be ready if bad weather hits. So stick around. We'll be right back. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit ZombieOutpostStore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Hey, how you doing? This is Magic Pierce inviting you and yours to listen to some good friends of mine that have a show too. Did you really think my daddy is the only one that just runs his mouth all the time and that's the only thing I listen to? No, it's not. I got a show I listen to on Sundays. Join host Max and his co-host, my hottie Fritzy, and of course my good friend Abby on Counterculture-Wise, Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. They have their own human guests, Melanie and Jim, each week. They don't meow a lot, but you get what they're saying. Now let me tell you, you have to go to counterculturewise.com. Use your paws to play with the mouse and scroll down to the on-the-air button on the right to hear their show. Just click on that. After that, watch them on Periscope like I do. Daddy gives me a little mouse to play with, and I get farts the whole time. It's a great show. Check it out. Counterculturewise.com. If you don't tune in, I get cuckoos on you.
Thank you so much for that ringing endorsement, Magic. It warms the orange hearts of me and Abby and the gray heart of Fritzy to hear you say such amazing things about our show. I'm pretty sure that Mumsy and Father have pink hearts, so we will assume their hearts are warmed too.
Forget about it. I got you guys. Good peoples.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. So we're back. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready? And before the break, we were talking about that snowstorm in Virginia this past summer. Yeah, right. This past winter. Yeah, January from the 3rd and 4th on I-95. 36 hours, hundreds of travelers were trapped on icy roads. Now, the Commonwealth's response showed the departments were prepared and weren't ready for it. Kind of underestimated the severity and the magnitude of the storm. And even prior to the storm, the report says executive action was not taken to prepare for the severe weather event. Now, this report, and let me just go back up here. That is, it's published by, this report was done by WSLS 10 News there in Virginia. And findings show that the former Virginia governor and his senior staff, who were still in office at the time, failed to recognize the storm's effect until January 5th. People were stuck on that road for 2 days. 2 days. The Virginia Department of Transportation and the Virginia State Police were the primary managers of the incident in the response, with the little involvement from the Virginia Department. With very little involvement from the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, according to the report. So the report states that the Virginia Department of Transportation, the Virginia State Police, attempted to mitigate the severity of the storm, but suffered due to the lack of previously deployed equipment and insufficient warnings to the public. That was it. No announcements, very little. There was no signage on the roads, no nothing. It showed that the agencies used a variety of communication methods before and after the storm. However, findings say that the messaging lacked specific instructions at the time. Now, what kind of messages? Where did they send these messages? When did Virginia tell the people on anywhere on that road that this may be a bad idea? We're expecting severe weather. Well, they didn't put it on the news. Wasn't on the TV. Apparently, wasn't on the radio. Well, here's some examples. Social media posts that both the Virginia State Police, I don't know if you follow them, and the Virginia Department of Transportation. Oh, yeah, I'm following their page. Yeah, I like all the little videos they post of their cats. Yeah, they're the ones that posted. So the Virginia State Police posted on Facebook at 12:26 p.m. on January 3rd, saying the snow is collecting too fast for even Virginia State Police troopers to keep their vehicles clear as they respond to hundreds of crashes and stuck vehicles. Virginia State troopers are up to 559 traffic crashes and 522 disabled/stuck vehicles across Virginia since 12:01 a.m. on the 3rd. Please continue to delay your travel. Too late. The Virginia Department of Transportation tweeted a warning at around 3:15 p.m. on the 3rd. A little late. Yeah, about 15 hours too late, saying the department has crews scattered throughout the highway to tow, plow, travel lanes, and treat the roads. Well, it wasn't until the next day on January 4th at 9:14 a.m. when the Virginia Department of Emergency Management issued a wireless emergency alert for drivers stuck on I-95. Yeah. State and locals are coming ASAP with supplies and to move you. Yeah, that's a long way from when this all first started happening. So they've, 20,000 calls over the course of January 3rd and 4th from drivers. Yeah, according to the report, The last trapped motorist was evacuated at about 3:30 p.m. on January 4th, and the highway reopened later that same day at about 7:40 p.m. Now, this is crazy. It took them quite a while. Now, officials say that Virginia never declared a state of emergency, attempted to activate the National Guard to provide relief, or anything. They're really doing nothing for these stranded drivers. Except, once we get the roads clear, we'll hopefully get you off of there. The governor now, the new governor, because he was governor-elect at the time, the new governor, who was governor-elect at the time of the storm, issued a statement about the report saying, blah, 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 blah. Since assuming office, this is more of the blah, 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 blah. This report demonstrates as the storm changed in intensity and left Virginians and travelers stranded on I-95. The previous administration's leadership did not properly prepare to communicate. There they go. They just blame the other guy. It doesn't help you. They just blame the other guy. So after the fit hits the shed, do you think someone is going to come around to change your diapers during the zombie apocalypse? No. Not going to happen. So do you need a car emergency kit? Oh, yeah. I'd get one. These folks never thought they'd need one. Now, I'm sure there were a few people on that road that had one. I'm sure there are a few people that were ready. I'm sure there are a few people that have listened to this program before in the past few years that I've been doing it, and other programs like it, and did their research, and they prepared. But, when there's bad weather, you should have a car emergency kit anyway, regardless of the weather. Because you never know where you're going to get stuck. You could be stuck on the side of the road for an hour or two. You could be stuck on the side of the road for days. So that's why you do need a car emergency kit. And especially for bad weather. So what do you put in an emergency kit? Well, think about what's in your storm emergency kit at home. Start there. What you may need at home, you may need on the road. You're still going to want food. You're still going to want water. You're still going to need a charger for your mobile device so you can call for help, get notifications, communicate, and all that. You're going to need, quite a few things that you may not need at home, though. And, for example, in this, blankets. You're going to want some of those blankets. Having some extra blankets in your vehicle, especially in cold weather like this, maybe you only had a quarter tank of gas, maybe a half tank of gas. Maybe you couldn't run your car sitting there for a day and a half. Some folks were stuck there for 36 hours. So, first of all, it may not be safe to run your car that long just idling. It's really no good for it. I mean, if you had to, you could turn it on for short periods of time, but then you got to shut it off. You're just burning gas, and then once you burn out a tank of gas just sitting there, going nowhere, how are you going to get to where you need to go once the road does clear? So running your engine to stay warm, or even cool, depending on your temperature and climate, is not always an option. When it's cold, blankets will come in very handy. You may also want a way to make fire. So if you're on the side of the road and your vehicle's disabled, maybe you wrecked it. Maybe it doesn't run. Maybe it's not safe to be in your vehicle. Maybe you have no way to get back in your vehicle depending on what condition it's in, if it's a wreck. Having some sort of fire and shelter would be a good idea to have in there. Oh, how about toilet paper? These folks, toilet paper. I can't imagine. Must have been a mess out there. Oh, now, for extreme cold, as far as water, when it comes to your car's emergency kit, water supply, a way to filter water is great if you can. But having water ready to drink is ideal. The problem that you run into is, depending on how cold it gets in your area, a big water bottle, like if you have a gallon of water, it could freeze. And it's going to take a really long time to defrost that water for it to thaw for you to drink it. So they make these emergency drinking water in a bag. I mean, it's got like maybe a cup, 2 cups in there, about a pint, whatever, of water. And it's sealed in a bag. It's, bioproof, chemical proof, all that, so the water doesn't get contaminated and all, Tear the bag open and drink the water. Now, of course, it doesn't mean it's not going to freeze. There's nothing special to the water. There's no antifreeze in the water, so you're not going to die. It will freeze. But when it's a flat bag of water like that, it defrosts a lot faster. You can stick that in little crevices on your body to defrost that water, and it'll pretty much defrost within a half hour. Maybe a little uncomfortable at first, putting a block of ice there. But at least you'll have water to drink within a half hour instead of a couple hours. And so it'll defrost a lot faster. Of course, anything that defrosts fast will also freeze fast. But, sometimes in the main passenger compartment of your car, bottled water does okay. It tends not to really freeze that much. So, those are some ideas right there as far as the water. Another thing you should have in your vehicle that you may not have necessarily at home is an entrenching tool, like an entrenching shovel. It's like a shovel, turns into a pick. And those are very handy for a number of different things. Another great item to have if you're dealing with a lot of cold or severe weather, snow, ice, and all that, would be either ice melt or salt, just a small bag, or cheap kitty litter. Really cheap. You can use sand too, but kitty litter seems to work better, like that thick, gravelly type kitty litter. If you get stuck, getting that under your wheels to get yourself out, it comes in very handy. So you may not necessarily need to really get out and start digging. Now, if you can't find an entrenching shovel, you can just put a snow shovel in there, just any shovel. You want to have something. Obviously, not like a plastic toy sand shovel, but just anything to be able to dig yourself out. And if you come across some of those entrenching shovels or multi-tool shovel, hatchet pick things, pick one up. They're very compact. They fold up. They stay out of the way. You're not taking up a lot of trunk space or backseat space with a big snow shovel. Now, what I find very handy, and I keep these in every door glove compartment in the back hatch, are those Mylar blankets, solar blankets, or space blankets, whatever you want to call them. These things are, I keep them in my medical kit, I got them in my backpack, I got them everywhere. Because if I was in an event like that where you're stuck in the freezing temperatures for a long period of time and you're not running your vehicle, or maybe your vehicle's not able to run, I would pretty much, these things you could insulate your whole vehicle. Now, most of your body's metal, so that's going to keep heat trapped in. Keep your doors closed, windows too. But if you take these solar or Mylar blankets, emergency blankets, whatever you want to call them, you could tuck them in the trim above your doors and around your doors and leave those hanging to seal you in. Those things reflect and radiate a lot of body heat. So you'll be amazed at how warm your vehicle will stay insulating them with just those solar blankets. And you could also use them to wrap yourself in, but if you want to be able to move and have a little breathing room and kind of move around, it's silly to sit there wrapped in a blanket when you can just tuck those in the door, and then after, we'll say a couple minutes, the passenger compartment of that vehicle will heat up. You could put them over your windshield, over your rear windows, side doors, any place where there's an opening that you want to insulate, and that'll really do a good job at trapping that heat in and keep you very warm. Now, of course, when it comes to food, just simple things. I wouldn't necessarily go with a lot of canned food. You can, depending on the salt content in there. And if you have a can opener and all that, that's great. But, just like granola bars, beef jerky, stuff like that. Even those little mini boxes of cereal, those single-serve cereal boxes. This way you have some variety. You kind of have something sweet if you want some Fruit Loops or Frosted Flakes, or if you want something really healthy, just get some Cheerios. And that's fine for keeping in your car. Have a little bag or a crate or a tote or something in the back that you keep in there at all times with that emergency supplies in there, so you always have it with you. And I wouldn't make it too big either, because the last thing you want to do is you need some extra room and you take this big tote out because you have so much emergency gear in there when you go somewhere, because it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to fit the kitchen sink in the trunk if I have this tote. Well, that's normally when you need it. And it's better to have and not need than to need and not have, as I've always said. Actually, we got some time. Why don't we throw in our prepping mistake of the week? Okay, so this prepping mistake of the week is about your home, your shelter in place, your storm shelter, your bunker, whatever that is. And you may have the best storm shelter and you feel perfectly safe in there. You have it stocked with everything you need for storm to last for days and you're all set. Nothing to worry about. You have plenty of water and food to eat. If it's in your basement and the house collapses on you, it doesn't matter. You're fine. You're all set. You'll still be okay. You can wait for weeks until someone comes to dig you out, right? Well, you may be able to, but what goes in must come out. Have you thought about where you're going to go to the bathroom? Not a lot of folks do. Sometimes this is a little minor detail that people skip over. They think that, we're just going to be okay. This section of the house is our safe room. This is our, storm shelter, whatever it is. And we'll be good. We'll be able to ride it out, get back upstairs, use the toilet if we have to. Well, there's a few ideas I want to share with you. For those of you that may be making this mistake, think about it. For those of you that have a bathroom in your basement, that's great. If that's where your, shelter is, your safe area. And, if there's major damage to that area, though, or maybe the sewer's affected or the water lines are affected, it may not be of any use to you. See, it's a good idea to have a backup plan for this. And for many of you, this backup plan may be your primary plan depending on where the safe room is. So here's a couple ideas I'm going to throw out there. Not everybody can just put a bathroom in their safe room. I mean, there's a lot involved with that, even if just a toilet. So an idea I want to share with you is a 5-gallon, I call this the 5-gallon pool noodle toilet. So you pretty much take a 5-gallon bucket with lid. Okay? Take the lid off. You're going to want that lid to seal up the bucket once you're done using it. But you take a 5-gallon bucket. Now, it's big enough. They're sturdy enough. You get them in a home improvement store like Lowe's or Menards, Ace Hardware, Greaves, any place. Okay? They're very sturdy. And you take a pool noodle. You can get them for like $1 at the dollar store. Now $1.25, whatever. But hurry up, get them now because this summer they're going to be about $8 to $10, and they may come in by November. But you get a pool noodle, cut a slit in it. Some of them are hollow, some of them are solid, but however you got to do it, and wrap it around the rim of the bucket. Now that's going to be a nice, comfy toilet seat for you. It's also easy to clean. You could line the bucket with a black garbage bag, a heavy-duty garbage bag, or plastic, whatever you want. Or you don't even have to line it at all. You can wash it out later if you want. But you use that as your toilet to go to the bathroom in. Now, when you're done, some folks like to just keep like some lime. You could do that. You can keep like a thing of cleanser, the Comet cleanser, Ajax, whatever, next to the thing to dedicate to that. Just cover over it, gets rid of some of the smell, kills some of the bacteria in there. And then remove the pool noodle and put the lid on it. And if you really want to go down and dirty, you don't need the comfort, well, that's okay. Just don't worry about the pool noodle. I think a 5-gallon pool noodle toilet sounds better. Keep a roll of toilet paper next to it. And make sure that's really the only thing you use that bucket for. Now, another option is a marine toilet. These things don't need to connect to plumbing, and they have a tank. You can also get them for RVs, but this one does not have to connect to a black water tank or any kind of sewer tank. And you could actually just pick the whole toilet up and dump it into a disposal facility. But a marine toilet, it just takes some of these chemicals like you would probably use in an RV toilet as well. And it's like kind of one of those pump and flush type deals. It doesn't necessarily have, running water that attaches to it. And you can get them in marine shops. You can order them online, and most RV camping places that cater to RVs and campers and all that would sell these as well. It's a self-contained toilet that doesn't need to be hooked up to any plumbing or sewer line. And, of course, don't forget about your sanitation. All right, now what about severe weather when you're traveling far away from your home? Now, there's really not much to say about this. If you're ready for pretty much an event to happen in your car, maybe you have an emergency kit that you always travel with, especially if you have a get-home bag. And a lot of times folks may be traveling to areas where they are not familiar with certain events, natural disasters, weather, and all that could happen in those areas. For example, there's a lot of people that are not familiar with, we'll say, Hawaii. And they go to Hawaii maybe once in their lifetime. And if it's your first time going to Hawaii and you're not from around there, you don't know really how to handle some of the weather down there. And, volcanoes. So it's important to, when you're out traveling, to really, first of all, be familiar with the types of events that could happen given the season that you're there, because you're not going to be there for a long period of time, so you're not going to really spend a good week or two getting a shelter, whatever, getting your plan together. When you get there, you're going to be enjoying your vacation. But a lot of different resorts, hotels, and all that, they have emergency plans in place, and they're ready to instruct the guests when an event does happen, say a monsoon, tsunami, tidal wave, volcano eruption, or, what if you're, traveling to an area where it's prone to hurricanes and all that. A lot of times when you're planning a vacation, you're going to plan ahead, and you're going to not want to plan it for the bad weather seasons that a particular area has. So plan your trip to avoid those events that could happen. But in the event that there is, we'll say, unpredictable weather that the area is known for, and know what type of events could actually happen, so at least you're somewhat ready and expect it to happen, and you have an idea of what you may do. And it's not a bad idea that once you check into your hotel, resort, or wherever you're staying, to probably check in with them, see if maybe there is an emergency plan in each room, which is not uncommon. Ask them at the front desk, hey, I hear that, such and such is, maybe volcano eruptions happen a lot, and, what do we do? And they'll be able to tell you the gist of what to do, but they'll also probably say that, well, just follow our instructions. It's very common in tourist resort or tourist attraction areas for them to be aware that not everybody there, in fact, if anybody there at all would know what to do given certain weather events that could happen. Well, before we wrap it up, I do want to cut to our pet segment of the week, Prepping for Pets. Okay, so severe weather may be scary to some pets. They may get freaked out by thunder and other sounds that are caused by wind, rain, loud sounds like transformers blowing out, and so on. So in your safe area, of course, you want to bring your pets with you. They're your little fur babies. But in your safe area, you would normally go if there's a storm. When you bring them with you, you should also have some comfort items for them, like maybe a pillow or blanket, some toys, and even some of their favorite treats. You should also have essentials like food, water, food and water bowls, and also a litter box or pads for your dog, and they should be trained to use it. So if you have a dog, you want to get some of the pads. Obviously, you're not going to train a dog. Well, you may not be able to train a dog. You may be able to. I don't know. train them to use a litter box. That'd be great. But if not, have some of those pet pads that you can keep on the floor so they know that that's where they're supposed to go. You should also have a way to discard them once used. So, again, that 5-gallon bucket with a lid that seals works great. Send me your tips. Send me your suggestions. What do you use? Go to our social media on Facebook and Instagram. Are You Ready Radio? Well, I hope that I helped you seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in and the support you give the show. Our guests, the callers, our friends in chat, listeners, clients, customers, everybody at the store, everything. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also find us on the web at nickpiercemedia.com. Click on the program's link. Find us on your favorite podcast platforms and on our home on Spreaker. To contribute to the show, go to Nick Pierce Media and click on the Support the Show link. Are You Ready Radio is the official podcast of Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio, and is an NP Media Group production. If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker.